The greatest wrestling WWE faction of all time, the Shield, since Evolution, was possibly the best faction WWE had created in the modern era. Like, oh my god, considering how great the Shield was and how their run was, like initially it looked like, okay, they're gonna do this and then they're gonna lose to John Cena. Like, this is the Nexus improved right. In fact, there's a lot of similarities between them and the Nexus. Like, they came from NXT, albeit two NXTs that are completely different entities. The one being the reality competition show and the other one being the developmental center. And they also had a feud with John Cena, though it ended very differently. Thank God for that. But yeah, like, this was one of my favorite factions in WWE, and possibly a lot of people's favorite faction in wrestling as a whole, considering how great they were booked. Yeah, they had some heat at times, but yeah, but ultimately they always kept making everything gold. Like, even when they were in trouble with management, they kept making gold. They made their debut on November 18, 2012 at the Survivor Series pay-per-view when Reigns, Ambrose, and Rollins attacked Ryback and put him through a table, which was awesome, allowing Punk to pin Cena and retain his title. They were initially mercenaries for CM Punk and Paul Heyman to let Punk keep his world title. And then, like, about a week or so after the pay-per-view, it's been so long, I kind of lost track of dates for when they did this interview with Michael Cole. Uh, like, you saw Rollins and Ambrose do all the talking and Reigns being the quiet one. Like, I was initially focusing on Reigns. Like I said, that guy's gonna go places, and how right was I? Like I said, like, both guys are good. Like, all three members are gonna go places, and I was right. But I felt like I was almost wrong when they were feuding with Cena, but then I was proven right by, oh, thank you, I was right. Yes. But like, Reigns was very quiet, and when he did talk, it was just like, okay, it's not okay. Like, I get it. His talking is not the greatest. It's not like Rollins and Ambrose where they can hold their own. So they're letting Reigns be the quiet type, the strong, quiet type, and let his silence be the talking. Thought, okay, that's a good way. Hide Reigns' weaknesses. Like, initially, CM Punk had said he wanted to bring Chris Hero into the Shield and not Reigns, but WWE, and this is where I have to thank WWE management for saying, no, we're going to put Roman Reigns in, since that was possibly their best idea ever, and possibly the only time they defied a wrestler that I actually would agree with. But yeah, then they started attacking random superstars. It was being all like the Nexus. They would attack random superstars, trying to prove that. And whereas the Nexus were like disgruntled employees, were disgruntled since they had said the reason why they're attacking everybody was because how they were treated in NXT back when it was still that live show. But for the Shield, they had a vague sense of justice in their eyes, and yeah, like, that could have had a much better reason. Like, instead of just saying we're fighting for justice, it just felt very vague. But that was like only one complaint I had for the Shield. Like, there's another one, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Um, they attacked the Ryback, the Miz, Team Hell No, Randy Orton. Let's see. They attacked all these great guys in the initial run, all these talented wrestlers, and then they made their big debut in a match at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs against Ryback and Team Hell No. And I gotta be honest, had Ryback not accidentally injured Punk, we probably would not have gotten this match, or at least how great the match was. It was such an awesome match. It earned like a 4.75, I think, on the Dave Meltzer's rating score. And so I said, okay, that's a great solid debut. That is a great way to make their debut. And it was an awesome match. I really loved it. And after TLC, despite continuing to attack Punk's and Maddox's adversaries like Ric Flair, Brodus Clay, Sheamus, the Shield then began to attack other wrestlers such as Mick Foley, Tommy Dreamer, Ricardo Rodriguez, and also were used to write wrestlers off of TV who were legitimately injured. such as Randy Orton and Sin Cara, who were suffering legitimate injuries at the time, including Rey Mysterio later on. Um, and then the Shield returned to NXT since Rollins at the time was still NXT World Champion. Sorry, I kept saying I said World Champion for NXT Championship because, well, considering how the NXT Champion's booked and the WWE title is booked, yeah, the NXT title, it might as well just be called the NXT World title. Uh, but like the Shield were dominating. Like at the time I didn't watch I don't watch Hulu, so I didn't watch any of the old NXT episodes. Really hope they bring them on the WWE Network one day. Old classic episodes. Let us see the old days. See how that works. So then they went on an undefeated streak for a while, and it ended on SmackDown, I think. I thought, like, seriously? Either A, this should have been saved for pay-per-view, or B, this should have been saved for Raw. I was really wondering, wait, why did the undefeated streak end on SmackDown? Like, no one even watches SmackDown anymore, considering how the ratings are. Considering how it's always spoiled on the internet. I'm like, since it was on Friday, like, maybe there are people who watch it since it's Friday, and they have the day off on the weekends, so there's that. And the Shield also attacked The Rock, and I was a huge fan of and I'm a huge fan of The Rock, and I was really wondering, is The Rock gonna team up eventually and take on the Shield? I would be all for that. And then afterwards, they attacked John Cena, Ryback, and Sheamus, and took them all out. And I was like, oh my god, a moment of weakness for John Cena? Hallelujah! 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 Like, I was waiting to see John Cena act human for once since the Nexus incarnation. So, and then I was initially scared, like everyone was starting to get scared, like, oh great, they're feuding with John Cena, he's not going to put them over. He's going to destroy them like he did the Nexus. It's not going to work. The angle's dead. The wrestler is the feud's over. There's no point in caring about a storyline that's not going to be in the favor of the Shield. They're just going to lose. So basically, there was no tension whatsoever in everyone's eyes, and I was also one of those guys who said this match is not going to, like, the Shield are going to deliver, but John Cena is ultimately going to overcome the odds. And you know what? WWE, you fucking bastards, you actually did something right. You smart ass fuckers. You actually did something right. You let the Shield go over them at Elimination Chamber. And yes, the match was awesome, but I was just glad they went over Cena and the others. Like, I thought, oh, the Shield's gonna end up like the Nexus. They're gonna fade into obscurity, and then ultimately be forgotten. And then these three guys are gonna be jobbers for the rest of their careers, or just do things and then ultimately fail afterwards. But, like, I was so glad that the Shield went over John Cena and Ryback and Sheamus at Elimination Chamber. Like, I was surprised that they let them go over. And then about a week before WrestleMania, I was actually at the show on Raw a week before WrestleMania. I saw the Shield. They were on the other side of they were like I was sitting like right across from them. I was and like at the time I still had anxiety issues, but it was just awesome to hear the Shield and see them. They were like right across from me. It was just so awesome to be near them, and like I wanted and sadly I couldn't get pictures of them. That would have been awesome. And then I went to WrestleMania 29, and they went over, and they won their big WrestleMania debut match, and like, yes, these guys are on fire. There's no way they can lose. Like, they're doing so well. WWE's booking them right. They booked them over John Cena, and even if John Cena bitched to Vince about it, Vince pretty much just said, no, we're going to do this. And in fact, if you're not going to put them over, we'll let Ryback put them over. So, yeah. And considering how let's see, the Shield also had said during the feud with John Cena was having to say a decade of injustice, creating an environment where any wrestler could not face the consequences for his or her actions, whose mentality they felt spread to other wrestlers like Ryback and Sheamus. Okay, that's also vague, but also like Could you just say John Cena just screwed everyone else over and you just want revenge? Like your fellow NXT superstars were screwed over by John Cena, and look how they turned out. Poor Wade Barrett. And look how the others turned out. Thank God Daniel Bryan was out. So they had their first match the following night after Elimination Chamber, where they had a great match with Sheamus, Ryback, and Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho even gave a compliment saying he hasn't seen a threat like this since the NWO. And I was like, oh my God, they actually referenced the NWO again. Like their interview with Michael Cole's interview with the Shield when they did the angle, I was like, it had the NWO members, Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall still been healthy and in their prime, I would have been all for a match between them. And like when Dean Ambrose says, if you're looking for the NWO, go buy the DVD. And like, okay, yeah, you just silenced your critics who were saying, oh, this is just gonna be another NWO group. They're gonna fail, blah 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 blah. They just said, yeah, we're different. We're gonna do something. We're gonna do something very different here. So I was excited by that. And then at WrestleMania, they beat Big Show, Sheamus, and Randy Orton, and Big Show turned heel again. Like, whatever. No one cared. Not really. No, not really. And anyways, afterwards, they feuded with. They initially were supposed to fight Ryback, but then they had Mark Henry versus Ryback, and that was a pretty pointless match considering how it went. Seriously, that match was pretty pointless. And then they went to say, okay, I had some grain of salt in this, and Undertaker went ahead and said that he dedicated his match against CM Punk to the memory of Paul Bearer. Then the Shield cut him off before he could continue his tribute, and I was like, "Oh, you thought we could do worse? Oh, let's do this. Let's put more grain in. Let's pour salt in the wound." So they had the Shield nearly attack the Undertaker on the night after WrestleMania, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be awesome! The Undertaker is gonna work with the Shield." Like I initially was thinking, nah, they're not gonna do that. But like then, oh my God, they're really gonna do it. And then on April 22nd, I was like, they were showing this episode of Raw in the UK, and then I heard the announcement that they were gonna have the Undertaker and Team Hell No, Kane and Daniel Bryan take on the Shield. I was like, holy shit, they're actually going for it. They're actually gonna do this match. Oh my God, this was possibly going to be a very awesome match. This is the Undertaker we're talking about. If you're fighting the Undertaker, and if you go over with them cleanly, you have no way of fading into obscurity after this. And what do you know? I was proven right. The Shield went over by pinning Daniel Bryan. I'm like, it would have been awesome if they pinned The Undertaker, but nonetheless, it was still awesome. And then 4 days later, I thought, okay, well, that's the end of The Undertaker. He's going to disappear after this. No, he didn't. Oh, he's going to be on SmackDown? He's going to fight Dean Ambrose? Okay, that's actually kind of awesome. And while I was not really against Dean Ambrose losing to Undertaker via submission, like, the Shield later regained momentum when they defeated The Undertaker and riding him on television through a triple powerbomb through the table. And this is where they start to get some heat backstage. Like, the Shield started having a little bit of an ego. Like, they just said, hey, we beat The Undertaker, we beat John Cena, we worked with all the top guys, and yet we're doing all this. And then they started getting heat with superstars a little bit. Since a little bit with them, we're getting an ego problem. So there was that, but that was a little bit of heat. That wasn't really as bad heat yet. I'll get to it later. Then afterwards, the Shield were feuding with Team Hell No and Kofi Kingston to take their titles. Kofi Kingston was the U.S. champion. And while I will say, feuding with Kofi Kingston, why couldn't they just put Cesaro in? Like, I get it, he's a heel, but you could have turned him face. And also, it would have been awesome for Dean Ambrose to face Cesaro in a match at Extreme Rules. But the Shield won the tag team titles and U.S. title, and I thought that was a great moment, especially the photo I saw where they posed with the tag team belts and the U.S. title together. Like, that was an awesome photo. I still have it on my computer, but it was an awesome moment to see the Shield win all gold. And then they had a stellar match with Kofi Kingston and Team Hell No after the night after. And here's the thing. The Shield lost on SmackDown, their first official loss. I don't count their disqualification loss against John Cena, Kane, and Bryan since, well, that's stupid. And ultimately, I was like, okay, they lost there, but let's ultimately have them lose on SmackDown. That was pretty much their booking. So that happened. So, like, yeah, I was kind of against that, how they just did that. So, to this day, I still thought that was a stupid booking. That was just John Cena showcasing his ego again. And then afterwards, like, let's see. I'm trying to remember what happened next after Extreme Rules. Then after the night after Raw, then they went ahead and lost on SmackDown, as I said, to Team Hell No and Randy Orton. And then at Payback, Ambrose defeated Kane by countout, and the Shield, Reigns and Rollins defeated Bryan and Orton to retain their titles. And I was like, wait, why did the Ambrose lose by countout? Win by countout? Wait, yeah, by countout. So I was like, couldn't he have just went over clean? Like, he already beat the Undertaker. He already faced the Undertaker. Might as well just go all out. Um, Then, like, afterwards, the Shield was moved to the pre-show of Money in the Bank pre-show, and this is where you started hearing word that there was heat going on backstage with them. Apparently, at a house show, Randy Orton and Reigns botched something, and Reigns and Orton got into an argument. And Triple H was at their defense, saying, don't punish them. It's not their fault. It's not Randy Orton's fault. It was just a simple botch. It's a mistake. It always happens. This always eventually happens, and Vince McMahon says, no, they need to be punished. I was on Triple H's side. Like, mistakes happen. Like it's not their fault that mistakes happen. Like, you expect clear perfection. This isn't Hollywood. So, the Shield got some heat, and they were moved to the pre-show, and I'm pretty sure Dean Ambrose might have won the Money in the Bank contract had that not happened. Had that heat not happened, but ultimately, what can you do? Damien Sandow won, and considering what happened to Sandow later on, yeah, it wasn't worth it. So then the Usos and Reigns and Rollins had one hell of a match. Like Reigns and Rollins later said in their documentary that yeah, they were mad about it, but they ultimately said we're gonna steal the show, and they stole the show. Like forget everything. Like Money in the Bank was a lackluster pay-per-view afterwards. Like if the pre-show is done better than the actual show, then you've ultimately failed. Yeah, you ultimately failed. And then Mark Henry turned face. They fought, and the Shield fought him and the Usos twice, and they both fought, and the Shield won again. But this was a kind of a downgrade since they're fighting Mark Henry. Like, I get the Usos, but Mark Henry again? Okay. What of it? But, yeah, this had to do with their heat, so let's skip that. Then the Shield went into Survivor Series. Went into SummerSlam, and basically, Reigns and Rollins didn't have a defense match. Like, here's the thing: the original plan for SummerSlam, how things went their way, was supposed to be the Shield takes on the Brothers of Destruction. That would have been awesome. Again. But The Undertaker had to take time off to prepare for his WrestleMania 30 encounter with Brock Lesnar, even though it wasn't Brock Lesnar yet. It was, but as we know, what would happen. Yeah, I would have loved the Shield to have been the ones that beat The Undertaker, at least one of them to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Um, then after SummerSlam, after Ambrose retained his title through disqualification, um, the Shield joined the Authority, and let me just say this: I was stupefied. Harry Potter reference. I was stupefied when I saw the Shield working as enforcers to Triple H's Authority, because I'm doing this. I did this fan fiction, and this was months prior to the beginning of the Authority storyline. But I had plans for the Shield to be enforcers for an empire and whatnot, and I was like, "You stole my idea, WWE! You stole my idea! I had that idea. You can't take my ideas." Like, I get it, they're your guys, but I came up with that idea. You stole from me. Yeah, you stole from me. I demand royalty payments. But yeah, and they would ultimately help Triple H and his regime and the Authority, as it would later be known as, attacking and punishing wrestlers who spoke out against Triple H and his authoritarian government, pretty much. And at Champions, they defended their titles against, let's see, the Primetime Players and Dolph Ziggler, and they were also good matches. And the Shield hasn't done one bad match. I can't think of one bad match, even when they had Zack Ryder, the Great Khali, and some other guy I forgot. I can't think of one bad match that the Shield ever did. And at Battleground, as I already explained in my other video, there was the Shield's big tag team loss, and I was all for Cody Rhodes getting the win over Seth Rollins. Like, it would have been more emotional had they pinned Roman Reigns, since Roman Reigns was very rarely pinned. And then their tag team match for the tag team titles was also on the line 2 weeks later. Oh my god, that was possibly the best tag team match I ever saw, and that wasn't a 6-man tag team match. But I did have a little gripe for the Shield losing that match. Like, I thought like the Shield should all lose their titles as a group, since they say as a group they work together. If one fails, then they all fail. If one wins, then they all win. Like, that would have been more symbolic. Like, had they did a 6-man tag team match and had Seth Rollins and had all 3 members of the Shield lose a match together, and they ultimately lose their titles to these 3 other guys. That would have been more symbolic. I thought like that should have been the plan. And then at let's see, Ambrose defeated Dolph Ziggler again on main event, and at Hell in a Cell they lost. The Rollins and Reigns lost their title. Lost again to the Rhodes Brothers and the Usos, and Ambrose retained his championship by a countout loss to Big E Langston. So, yeah. Then the night after, we had the thing I was dreading for, the thing a lot of people were dreading for. There are cracks in the Shield. Like Ambrose boasted, saying, "The only champion the Shield has left. I'm going to get the job done like I always have, because I'm Dean Ambrose, and I'm the baddest man alive. Believe that. Believe in the Shield." Like, you saw the dissension starting, and like I was like, no, not now. I still think they could do more. No. Like, I was literally wanting to cry, though I wasn't being that dramatic. But like, yeah, I was seriously sad. Like, I did not want the Shield to break up yet. Like, I still thought there was still so much stuff they could do. And then CM Punk got attacked by the Shield, and after Survivor Series, where the Real Americans and most of the Shield were eliminated, and they pretty much in a clean sweep. But then Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins remained, and then Seth Rollins got eliminated, and then Reigns eliminated the rest of the competitors by himself, tying the record with another wrestler for 4 eliminations at once, and being the sole survivor. And that was the sign, yeah, Reigns is going to go places. He's getting the big push. Like, it was reported about a week or so beforehand that that Roman Reigns was going to get this big main event push, and I was all for it because I'm a huge fan of Reigns, and he was one of my favorites in the Shield. And then afterwards, they had a tag team. They had a 6-man tag team match with Rey Mysterio and the Rose Brothers against the Shield. Great match again. Then CM Punk gets attacked by them, and I was like, oh my god, they're really gonna work with Punk? Wow. But before, oh wait, let me talk about what happened before Survivor Series, 2 weeks beforehand. They met the Wyatt family in the greatest confrontation that some person compared to DC versus Marvel. They confronted each other and beat the holy hell out of each other for like a good 2 minutes. And I was like, yes, they still need to do a match. I demand them to do a match before they break up. I demand it. I demand a match between them. And we would ultimately get that next year. But yeah, and then they had a awesome tag team match with the Wyatt family against the Rhodes Brothers, the Usos, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan in an epic 12-man tag team match, and that was possibly the greatest 12-man tag team match I ever saw because it was just so awesome and how the quality was. Like everything about it was so great that like Ambrose became the one that lost. And well, that's how it happened. That's like we just got a preview of it, and yeah. Then Punk was feuding with the Shield, and then the confusing part was they had a handicap match and Punk won. Like a lot of people were, that probably should not have happened since it was 3-on-1. But it never bothered me because Punk didn't go over them cleanly. They have an excuse, like Reigns was kicked in the head and he was blinded and Reigns said he was blinded a bit so he couldn't see fluids or something like that. Let's see. And Ambrose received a spear from Reigns and Punk capitalized on it. And then a year later, Punk would document saying he was to make Reigns look really, really strong in the match to the point that Punk requested to lose the match, which was rejected. Yeah. Why? Like Punk says, can I lose the match? No. They need to lose. Yeah, yeah, I'm still confused by that. But like, so going into 2014, Punk continuously taunted the Shield that caused further dissension between them, like saying who's the best one out of them, and Reigns ultimately beat CM Punk in an awesome match. I really loved it. And all three members of the Shield competed in the 2014 Royal Rumble, which I said was a complete and utter disaster, since everyone said Daniel Bryan should have been the one that won it, and I was all for Daniel Bryan winning it, since the story was there, the money was there. I felt like that was the right time. But and like I would have been all for Roman Reigns winning had he won the match. Like everyone was cheering for Roman Reigns to beat Batista, saying Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns. And then what a difference a year made in 2015. But I'll get to that when I get to that. But yeah, and Ambrose tried to eliminate Reigns, who retaliated by eliminating both of Rollins and Ambrose, and eventually was finished as the runner-up for the match. Though he did break the record of setting 12 eliminations, where Kane set 11 eliminations. And Rollins was spending the second longest amount of time in the match, since he was the second longest in there, since he entered at number 2. So yeah, that was a long time, and Punk was in there as well. And that would be Punk's last match. And then the night after Raw, we finally got the tease that yep, the Shield is going to go to war with the Wyatt family after the Shield were disqualified for their 6-man tag team match, that's to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. And the Shield vowed revenge against the Wyatt family. And the Shield and the Wyatt family were set to go to war at Elimination Chamber. And I was like, yes, this is going to be awesome. This match should have been saved for WrestleMania, however. That was my only complaint. It should have been saved for WrestleMania. It should have been saved there. I thought like the Shield should have broken up at WrestleMania 30 at that time. Like they should break up at WrestleMania 30 after losing to the Wyatt family. One and done match. That's it. And the build up to the match for Elimination Chamber was amazing. There was very little dialogue, very little talks. Like yeah, they talked sometimes, but then when they actually showed each other facing off, they would just stare at each other silently and just move and let their facial expressions tell the story. That was awesome. Like WWE still had it. WWE still had it, and like yeah, they still had it, and they still had it, but yeah, Elimination Chamber, the Wyatt family beat the Shield, and I was surprised the Shield didn't break up after that match. Like, I was really expecting them to break up after that match and lead to a triple threat match at WrestleMania. But nope, they didn't go with that angle, which I honestly was not really disappointed by. Like, if the Shield's gonna stay together much longer, I'll be all for it. Then afterwards, on March 3rd episode of Raw, the Shield lost again against the Wyatt family because the Shield's teamwork was breaking up. They were falling apart. Rollins walked down the group saying he was tired of being the glue that held everything together. And it felt like the Shield might end there, but really it did. They had a summit on March 7th on SmackDown where they had to clear the air on their disharmony and said that Rollins's Rollins's little abandonment of the group was to make Reigns and Ambrose see eye to eye. And after Rollins and Ambrose hit each other to reconcile, I was wondering, why didn't they not let Reigns get a hit on him? And yeah, I was wondering why Reigns didn't get to hit one of them. Like, I'm pretty sure he should have hit Ambrose because Ambrose and Reigns had the problem. Then they went to war with the Authority afterwards, and well, they had Kane and the New Age Outlaws, and that was a quick 3-minute match at WrestleMania 30. Not the greatest match, but ultimately it wasn't a bad match. It was just a quick, fast-paced match, and well, that's how it happened. And then they went to war with Triple H, and I had to say this was possibly the only storyline that was red hot and kept going red hot. Like, they just kept making it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And yet they never stopped. They never had one bad moment, which was an awesome match at Extreme Rules. And then Payback happened, and they blew their match out of the park from Extreme Rules. In the greatest match ever I saw in my 6-man tag team fandom. It was possibly their second best match in a 6-man tag team bout, with the Wyatt family being in first place in their Elimination Chamber match. But the War with Evolution was well deserved. Like, I was all for Evolution reforming. Like, this is how serious the threat the Shield is, and they're gonna fight the last great faction that WWE had in the modern era. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. And the Shield also had masks on their faces, and I thought that was a nice touch. Like, that makes them look more menacing than ever. And then the night after Payback was the day the Shield came to an end. In the most shocking way possible. I was not expecting that to happen in the way it happened. Everyone thought Ambrose was going to turn the Shield, going to break up the Shield. But then it turned out Seth Rollins was the guy that breaks up the Shield in the shocking way he did. And, well, I was shocked by it. Like, oh my God, they actually went there. And I was mad. I was frustrated. Yeah, this is not really me being frustrated. Like, this is a stupid booking decision. I was, like, mad because, oh my God, Rollins, why? Why did you do this? This is the Shield, man. You just beat Evolution. You conquered the Authority. You pretty much could take over the world at this point. So, like, that's how the Shield ended in this very symbolic, surreal fashion. And I was like, the Shield, red hot from the beginning, red hot from the end, ended in a surreal way. That's how you end a faction. I was all for that. The Shield is possibly one of the greatest factions in WWE history. It probably will never be replicated. It will most likely never be replicated again. And while we may get a reunion of them in the later future, which I will be all for, since they teased it again at Payback in 2015, I will be all for that. But they could never replicate that magic again. Like, it's just gonna be a fun reunion with them. And I would be all for if they fought the Wyatt family again, since they'd never have a bad match with them. Well, everyone, this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.